Greetings, welcome to the Midlife Lab. In my last video I used one of these scrap boards to show how I was teaching myself the soldering and rework techniques using hot air. Now I want to use one of these boards to learn to read the topology of the board, to recognise the various circuit blocks. What do I mean by that? Well, a complex circuit like this is made of much smaller functional blocks that work together to create the complex functionality of the device. And I want to have a look at this and see if I can recognize those and determine how they fit together as a whole on the board. Now, if you find videos like this interesting, then please subscribe and hit the bell icon and see what I get to as I explore further. Perhaps even like and share the video. In this segment, I'm not actually going to try and identify the individual components and their specific functionality. I'm just trying to get an overview of what each block is and how they contribute to the overall functionality. Now, given the type of connections we have on this board, I suspect that this is probably a set-top box, satellite or Freeview, something like that. So let's get into this and we'll look at it from the top and the power input. Now here we have a fairly standard barrel jack input. Center pin is positive. We're coming in through a link, some inductors, up through a diode, possibly there to prevent reverse polarity, connecting up something with the wrong polarity on the center pin, through another link and down to this device. Now this is going to be a regulator of some sort, and given that there's a beefy inductor just sitting next to it, it looks like this is going to be a buck regulator, and this is probably there to create the main power rail for the whole board. And next to it here we have a USB connector. There doesn't appear to be much in the way of any real circuitry around it, but if we look in here we can see power rails coming out through these resistors or inductors, and it is feeding directly down and into the processor. So yeah, there's no circuitry associated with that USB port. It is feeding directly into the processor. It is handling the input and output. Next we have, looks like an S-video port. And so in this area we can see this device, or probably video amplifier. We do appear to have, this could be the four outputs. These will be the impedance matching or impedance setting resistors. X58, a bit of an odd designation there. Let's have a quick look. Get that out of the way. Measure one of these, we get 75 ohms. Yeah, 75. $75. Yes. So that looks like it's going to be a video amplifier, and this is S-video output. I'm not sure what these transistors down here are involved in, although they do look like they are also associated with the S-video output. But can have a look at that in more detail in a future video. Next along the row we have an HDMI port. We can see quite clearly we've got the four dual impedance matched lines, data lines, down through a set of inductors. And looks like the lines for those go under here, around here, and then up into the processor. Now this installation here is a bit interesting, but then I suppose that from this outline it looks like this may actually be a shield going over the processor. it looks from here, and perhaps this outline that there's heatsink on there, but may also be shielding. Be interesting to see. I mean, we do have gold coated fingers here, which spring fingers, which would make contact with a shield. That would make sense. We also have some circuitry here related to probably the hot plug capability and various other bits on the HDMI. I don't really know a great deal about HDMI at the moment, but I would assume that would be that. Also got a fuse in there, which I'm not sure where that goes to. Might be on the hot plug, just to give it some protection if something stupid happens. Coming on further down, we have a pair of phono plugs, and they are related to this. So this whole block here looks like it's going to be an audio amplifier or audio buffer. And next down we have Ethernet, an Ethernet port. And this here looks like it will be the Ethernet driver, if I can get it. Yes, yeah. So we have an Ethernet driver here. Again, if we take that in a bit closer, yes, we can see the 4 data line pairs feeding into the transceiver. We've got quite a beefy inductor there. I'm not sure what that's going to be. Almost looks like it might be creating a power line, but without any associated devices. It does look a bit strange. And of course we have crystal for setting the frequency, operating frequency for the chip. Then we come down. We have an optical port. There's not a lot of circuitry around this. This probably an audio output. Lines do come up here. We're heading up towards the. That's an interesting one. It could be heading to the processor, or we could have lines going off across to the audio amplifier up here. That probably makes more sense. That lines coming from there and over here. But yeah, that looks like we've got an audio output there. And finally, on the inputs, we get to an exciting chunk. What do we have nestling underneath this? Well, we've got the antenna in and feed through up here. Let's see if we can get this off. Okay, let's get a bit more light in here. Okay, so we'll have our signal in to this chip, probably an RF amplifier and a splitter, because we have 4 lines coming out of here, going down into these 4 sections, and each of these will probably be a tuner, so that you can be watching 1 program and recording 3, or perhaps recording 4 consecutively, concurrently. These then lead out to 4 individual sections, 1 each, and these will probably be the decoders or digitizers for the signals from, well, yeah, I suppose it's going to be decoders mainly, isn't it? Each with their own individual crystal to set the operating frequency for the chip. And these all feed down and across to the processor, which leads us, of course, to the guts of the device, the main processor. And we have, looks like, yes, it looks like we have 2, let's get the light adjusted again. Looks like we have 2 different sets of memory. Why 2? I don't know. Perhaps one is used for runtime information and one for the real-time video playback. Now, close to this central chunk, we appear to have 2 individual sections. and from the fact that there's some chunky coils, chunky inductors on here, and there was one here which I've taken off previously. I should have used a different board, shouldn't I? Anyway, these look like they are going to be buck converters, providing the power rails for the processor and memory. It's an interesting one. It's actually got 2 coils associated with it. So is this giving 2 rails? Is it a dual converter? I think I'll have a look at that one in a bit more detail in a future video. And on the subject of power, going over to the other side of the board, we also have 2 chips here, each with a decent inductor and some chunky capacitors. So it looks like these are creating the power rails for our RF section and the decoders. Fairly simple, straightforward ones, single line each. On this board we also have our drive connector, and if I turn this around, get a bit better light in there, we have a hard drive connector, and this little device down here looks a bit small to be a redriver or signal conditioner. Perhaps it's in there as a power conditioner. What's on the other side? I wonder if there's something there. Ah, yes. So over here we have, it looks like, a redriver or signal conditioner for the hard drive. Let's get in a bit closer. We have paired line coming out and a paired line going in, or a paired line going out and a paired line coming in. I'm not sure which is the transmit or receive on this, but paired data lines. And on the other side of the chip, you see we also have another pair of paired data lines. So it looks like we have data in, redriver, data to the drive. Also on the board, for some reason, we have a dual USB port. Seems a bit strange, I'm not sure what that's on there for. Perhaps used for programming the device. Though why they would use a USB port internally when they could just have a simple header, I don't know. Or whether it actually came with devices plugged into this to give certain capabilities. It just seems very strange. And that is more or less it for the major circuit blocks. Over here we do have a couple of LEDs with their switches. But apart from that, yeah, that's basically the board. So yeah, this has been going on for quite a while, so I think I'm going to leave it here. And in future videos I'll explore some of these sections on the board in more detail, actually dig into the devices, what they're doing, what their capabilities are. So if you found it interesting, please link and subscribe, perhaps share the video, and I'll see you in the next video. Till then, be seeing you.